Has this ever happened to you?
All right, DefCat, I'm gonna swing out at you.
I'm hellbent with nothing but a Ragavan, and John has 3 Eldrazi and a counterbalance.
Yeah, but you normally win, so I wanna make sure I get you out first.
Guys, we play together every week. How am I supposed to win from this position?
Silence, politicker!
Oh, if you were like me, then when the pandemic hit, you decided to share one of your favorite hobbies, Magic the Gathering, with your friends, family, and loved ones. And in doing so, you may have realized, 1v1 Magic and Arena isn't as fun when the friend group has 3 or more people. But lucky for you, there was that fun side little thing you did after F&M called Commander. You ordered some precons, sat down, had some fun, and you began learning a lot of new rules. Even like me, someone who was a complete standard grinder and had played a fair amount of Commander, you normally had to read almost every card, especially because there were so many new ones. You would all giggle, it's like you're playing Foursquare on the elementary school parking lot. And then it happened. Someone decided to build their own deck. Or worse, bought a list they found online, and the arms race began. Look guys, you know what I'm talking about. Every playgroup has gone through this that got into the Magic the Gathering at the same time. Everyone started building better decks, or decks to counter each other's decks, and eventually we started getting higher power, building better cards, we started proxying, getting really big things out, and like probably a lot of you, my group was very socially inept. I will never forget the day that one of my friends brought an Aloro deck built purely on life gain and Pillow Fort. I watched this man get smacked by a 30-30 Calimax for commander damage that my wife threw at him. He left in silence. The man said not a word from the cards being picked up to him leaving the door. It happens. On 3 occasions, I took individuals from this group out to either lunch or dinner to try to tell them socially that this game has to end and it's okay to hit people, and it didn't work. I was at my wit's end and I wanted to save my play group. They just didn't have the social skills at the time needed in order to have that conversation. And right now, some of you may be in that position. I have the solution. The solution came to me when Strixhaven came out. My stalemated play group that would be all excited to come to F&M and be butthurt by the end of it had come back together for the opening because everyone wanted those mystical archives. We all sat snug in our chairs at the LGS, but I, a very cool Magic content creator, had gotten one of the cards early, and I realized, wait a minute, this card forces my friends to talk to each other. And not only that, collaborate. And there are other cards in the game like this already. Let me put a deck together. So on the night of pre-release, I came and picked up my pre-order for Brina. Brina says, when a player attacks one of your opponents, if they have higher life than one of your opponents, they get to draw a card, and you get to put 2+1/+1 on a creature you control. I will never forget the look in their eyes. I saw the cogs begin to turn. They went, I should think about who I'm gonna hit. It was no longer beat up the guy who won last game, or the person they were salty about after their last confrontation. It was, how do I strategically better myself? And boy, oh boy, are there more cards that can do that for you. And obviously, if you are the highest life total, everyone's gonna be staring at you. So this deck utilizes a bunch of ways in order to get your life total lower, but not too low, to stay lower than the curve, to force your friends to keep talking about the issue. And then you actually are able to win yourself. It's not a boring help your friends deck. It's genuinely a fun deck that you're gonna be able to play all the time. It just so happens to help your friends. The number one way to help a play group like this is to teach them threat assessment. And there are cards within Magic the Gathering that force players to understand threat assessment. Let me go through a couple. So obviously, Brina the commander themselves talks about whether or not it's better to hit the person with the most life, giving you 2 counters and getting you a card, or if it's better to hit the Brina player. And they eventually have to figure out sometimes it's better to hit the Brina player rather than draw a card. Charismatic Conqueror. If they want their artifacts or creatures to come in untapped, they're gonna have to give you a 1/1. And at some point, the gears are gonna turn and they're gonna go, you know what? I think it's better for me to take the loss. Hunted Horror. It's a 7/7 with a downside that says you have to give an opponent 2 3/3 creatures. Once you give someone those 3/3s, you're gonna have to explain to your group why you did, and they're gonna wanna listen. So that way next time, they can politic to get those 3/3. Keen Duelist. During your upkeep, you get to do a Dark Confidant effect. That's where you flip the top card of your library, lose life equal to the CMC of that card, and then draw it. Your friends are gonna wanna become your friend very quickly. They're gonna play nice. They want card draw. Orzhov Advocist. This forces them to choose between growing their creatures by putting +1/+1 counters on it, or not being able to attack you, effectively goading their entire board. And one of my favorites that's new and I recently put in this deck to upgrade it, Promise of Loyalty. This is an awesome Jailer's Fallacy card. So when you look at this card, at first you think everyone has to sacrifice a creature and put a loyalty counter on one of them. That creature they put the loyalty counter on doesn't get sacrificed. Then, if it has a loyalty counter on it, it can't attack. When I first played this card, all my friends kept their best creature. And after a while, they realized that's how I win. If they all keep their best creatures, I can't get hit by them and have saved myself, and I've wiped their boards. They should keep their smallest creatures and just get rid of them. If not, I get put in a great position. And one last one I'll put out there before we move on, I tell you more about this deck. Tempting Contract. I'm sure you've seen this card. At the beginning of your upkeep, each opponent may make a treasure token, and for everyone that does, you get to make one. Bro, there's never a reason you should give someone a treasure token unless you desperately need it to get back in the game. I think you're getting the picture now. When you play these cards, you are going to have the biggest angelic moment where someone makes the correct decision. They will learn by playing against this deck, and you can just be nice. You don't have to frustratingly tell them the right decision. You don't have to politic for it. If they play enough games against this deck, they're gonna learn. And if they don't, it's for the group, man, I'm sorry. Before we get ahead of ourselves, nothing I am about to say matters unless your playgroup pays attention. So I partnered with a local coffee company to me that I personally know the owner of as my first sponsor for the channel. I'm very picky about what coffee I drink, and that's why I choose Mascara Bros. They're all about single origin, small batch beans, freshly roasted, and always shipped within 7 days of the roast date to ensure that it's at its freshest. And the best part is shipped right to your door so you can enjoy it without having to constantly go out and get new beans. They've got an amazing range from light roast coffees to bright, flavorful, rich, smooth dark roast that hit just right. My favorite is their signature roast. It's a medium roast made from the super smooth pea berry beans from Brazil. It's my go-to for that perfect balance. With their subscription, you can try different beans and roast profiles. And feel free to change it up from month to month to keep things exciting. And plus, you get free shipping on 3 bags or more. And soon, they're also launching their new K-Cups. You can get a $25 per box subscription of their signature roast with the same freshness of the small batch goodness you love. So head on over to their website in the link in my description and use promo code DefCat10 at checkout to get 10% off your first 3 months of subscription. Trust me, your mornings will thank you. Now I know what you may be thinking. DefCat, I get it. I've played cards like these, and I understand the point you're making. It's a good one, but to me, this isn't all that interesting a video. Good, you should expect more of them. I built this deck to modularly work between every single bracket, except for 5. If they're playing CDH, they get the game by now. At least they should. Maybe I spoke too soon. But yes, I made this deck to module between brackets 1 through 4. And there's a lot of really cool secrets on how to use this deck to teach people the best way possible. So let me teach you how to teach your playgroup how to play nice. Creatures. Arya Oathsworn is a creature that grows if it doesn't already have the power it needs. And then if it grows large enough, it becomes a demonic tutor on a combat stick. This will teach your friends that this is something to get rid of, but only once it becomes a prop. Charismatic Conqueror. Like we talked about before, this is gonna quickly show your friends why it's good to pace out what you need in order to succeed in the turn instead of overstepping and giving someone else the game by granting them creatures. Dark Confidant. This is as reasonable as card draw gets. Your friends get to see the card you draw, and you lose life for it. This isn't something worth removing. And eventually they'll get that. So Draina and Dusk Legion are +1/+1 counter manipulation, and they allow you to help draw cards. These are things that quickly become hard to target, hard to kill because of how big their toughness gets, and should be dealt with early. There's gonna be a game where these punish them completely, and they're gonna wanna remove it next time. Envoy of Ancestors. This gives all your creatures lifelink. Esper Sentinel. Extremely strong card draw in this deck because you're gonna be able to put +1/+1 counters on it, and it's gonna be really hard for them to ever pay for it again. Felicia. Again, it's not how it said. If any of your other creatures die, you get to make more creatures, and they're gonna realize there's priority hits before they hit the rest of your board. So instead of blowing up your Dark Confidant, like they shouldn't, they'll hit Felicia. Grateful Apparition. It's something that if there's no +1/+1 counters out, they don't need to deal with, and they can figure out the timing. Healer's Hawk. Something that is very unassuming, but later on they'll realize you're gonna put a bunch of +1/+1 counters on a flying lifelink creature. Hopeful Initiate. This is a way for your friends to learn that they need to pay attention to the board state. I can't tell you how many times I had this on board, I had +1/+1 counters on it, my friends go for a win using an artifact or an enchantment, and then I blow it up. Get off your phones, pay attention to the game. Hunted Horror. Like we talked about, it pays to be a nice person, and when you're the nicer player at the table, you're more likely to get these. Keen Duelist. Just like we said earlier, you want to be friendly. Lae'zel is another ramp piece that only works when you have everything ready for it. If you don't have a board presence, it's not worth hitting. Lotho. This is going to teach your friends that storming off constantly may not be the best thing, and they can actually tempo their plays to play one bigger card a turn rather than trying to pump out things. Loyal Warhound and Lurrus teach your opponents that you may be down, but you're not out. There are ways to come back from a game, and you shouldn't write off an opponent just because they look a little bit behind. Mother of Runes, pay attention to the board state and get off your phone. Nighthawk Scavenger, some nightmares really do get worse when you wake up. Orzhov Abacus, like we talked about, is another one of those things where they have to realize that benefiting themselves can benefit you to the point of no return. Remorseful Cleric, pay attention to the board state, dummy. There goes your graveyard. Ruin Lurker Bat, it's another 1/1 flyer with lifelink, and it has other descending stuff. Sovereign Angel, Flying Vigilance. Selfless Glyphweaver, a great way to save your stuff, and again, pay attention to the board state, dummy. Same with Selfless Spirit. Vampire Nighthawk, because Vampire Nighthawk. Walking Ballista, a great way for onboard removal because this deck is constantly putting +1/+1 counters on your creature. Yathon Tomb Guard, it's better to kill the thing that generates you help before you kill the other things that you're scared of. Sorcery, the only other important one here is Secret Rendezvous. It's again a reason for your friends to politic as to why they should draw cards and tell you what they think is the best game plan for the both of you. It encourages good politics. Instance, as you can see, almost everything in the instance is about protecting your creatures, or protecting your entire board state through Teferi's Protection. At the time, most people hadn't heard of Teferi's Protection until it was reprinted in Strixhaven, and then it got massively popular because people realized how cracked it was. Heck, it's a game changer. Game changer. And this is a really good way to point out to your friends that dealing with something too late may mean you already have what it takes to fight through whatever interaction they have, and it's good to get to things before they become too big of a problem. That being said, artifacts. Blade of the Blood Chief's just a pet card I put in this, and it's really nasty, and you get so many +1/+1 counters on it, and there's a fair amount of vampires in the list, so this thing just goes nuts. It's so cool. So we already talked about Tempting Contract, but I do want to touch on it again. A lot of the time, you getting that many treasures in one turn, if everyone says yes and everyone has a good time, can sometimes be a little harmless, because it's not like this deck runs any giant bomb. My friend group's pretty split on this card. If they're saying if it's a bracket 2 night, they don't care, they'll always take the treasure, and honestly, I really can't say boo to that, I get it. But then you got Wedding Ring. Now, Wedding Ring is something to talk about at the table, because that puts you and one other person at a big advantage. And sometimes what you can do is end up king-making yourself and one other player to put the other two behind. And that's when they have to figure out they need to form an alliance with one another. Pretty healthy thing to do in Commander. The Ozolith. Obviously, they need to realize getting rid of the Ozolith before getting rid of your creature is literally and almost completely required. If they don't get rid of that first, there's basically no point in getting rid of the creature half the time. Enchantments, one of my favorites. Duelist Heritage. You can choose any target attacking creature. Notice it doesn't say one of your target attacking creatures, any target attacking creature, and give it double strike. People will want to be your friend, and you can save yourself because no one's gonna attack you knowing they're not gonna get you. Smuggler's Share and Smothering Tithe. It teaches people to temper what they're doing because if they go too far off, you gain a large advantage, and sometimes it's better, just like when someone's playing Ristic, to either pay the tax or just not pay the card if you can't pay the tax, or deal with the consequences of playing those cards. And then another enchantment, just like Wedding Ring, Tenuous Truce. This one's my favorite in the entire deck. This card allows you and your new buddy to draw at the end of their end step. Then, whenever they want the truce to be over, you simply have to attack one another. I've seen these things last an entire game, and the politics that ensue from it are amazing and healthy. You learn a lot. So in practice, this deck allows you to start so many important conversations and teach people a lot about the game. If you bring this to the table as it is in this simplified bracket 3 form, it will do well at most tables. But within the considering section of this deck, I've left an considerable amount of cards that you can put in instead of the game changers and other possibly too powerful cards for your play group so you can bring it down or bring it up. It's very important to note that this deck plays a lot better with tutors, and you are in the 2 best tutor colors in the format. White and black have the easiest access to put the most important things in this deck straight into your hand. Idyllic Tutor, Demonic Tutor, Vampiric Tutor, Imperial Seal, Enlightened Tutor, the list goes on. The point being is if you want to play bracket 4, throw those in and you're probably going to be good as long as you have the powerful pieces to go fetch. And of course, play the One Ring in bracket 4 because you're going to need the protection because people are going to catch on to you a lot quicker at that bracket. So overall, this deck allows you to really save that friend group that just can't have those proper discussions like it did mine. If you're liking this, I build decks for you. I do a live stream every Tuesday and Thursday building decks for my patrons. There's an insane amount of other benefits to going to my Patreon, so check it out.